Hey y'all, it's Kelly Clarkson with Wayfair, where delivery and setup are as easy as a few taps on your phone. Picture this. You're relaxing in an old hammock, scrolling Wayfair's app when you spot it. A brand new patio set. Next thing you know, Wayfair delivers it right to your patio and sets it up. Oh, you need a new grill too? All right, Wayfair's got you covered. With Wayfair's room of choice delivery and fast expert setup on qualifying orders, life gets a little easier. Visit wayfair.com or the Wayfair app.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
Welcome to the Truer Business Podcast with Cara Ferreira and Lauren Van Mullen. This season, we're looking at how online entrepreneurs built businesses around what they wanted for their lives. We're talking to people who broke out of the follow my formula mindset to find what worked for them so that you can find the way that works for you. What do you really want? Okay, today I am so excited to welcome Andréa Jones to our mini-series on basically how to baby-proof your business and if that's even possible. She is a digital marketing consultant who teaches business owners how to market in ways that are simple, smart, and strategic and aligned with their values. She hosts the Mindful Marketing podcast, which I highly recommend, and has a fabulous newsletter I never miss because it's always fun, interesting, and informative. You can find her at onlinedrea.com and on Instagram at the Mindful Marketing Lab and OnlineDrea. She's also the mother of 2 small children. The youngest just had her first day of daycare this week.
Thank you so much for having me on the show, by the way. I love it.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I'm just going to try to get over my excitement about having you here because I have been following your content for such a long time. And what I really wanted to talk to you about, because we have a friend in common, and when I was talking to her about what I was doing with this limited series, she's like, oh, you've got to talk to Drea because your business has changed quite a bit. So I wanted to sort of start with the before. What was your business before kids?
Yeah, the before times when I had all the time in the world. I didn't even know what time even meant. So I ran a marketing agency for 10 years. At its peak, we had 40 clients. I had 12 employees and contractors working with me, and we would manage social media for businesses and personal brands. So a lot of our clients were coaches or consultants or service providers. I would say my most maybe well-known client was the author John Gray, who wrote Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. So we were managing his social media accounts and his emails. So that's what I did before having kids.
So then
I know, then the dot, you heard the dot.
Yes, dot. So I was listening to your podcast, and you had a recent episode where you're talking a bit about this, and you said your business was at its peak in 2022, and that's when you had your first. So I'm so curious, like at least my experience, as soon as the pregnancy test came back positive, I went into high adrenaline, oh shit mode, and I'm like, I've got to figure this out. I've got to figure out how to get my business to survive this. And I kind of panicked. So I'm curious what your process was of trying to prepare and then what actually happened.
Yeah, I was so optimistic. I think we all are. Like, we're like, oh, how much can one baby really upset everything? My husband and I actually were trying to get pregnant for about a year before we actually did. And before this, we never wanted kids. So I blame the pandemic.
Same.
We were sitting there with nothing to do, staring at each other like, what do we do with all this time? Like, what are we even doing with life? Like, it was very existential. Like, what is the meaning of life? And then we were like, we should have kids. Because, like, we never wanted kids before. And then we were like, we should have kids. And so they were like, well, if it happens, it happens, right? Like, we weren't really, like, making a huge effort. Like, some people were, like, schedules and whatever. We were just like, if it happens, it happens. If you watch hockey, my husband likes to say we pulled the goalie. We're just like, okay. I wasn't really thinking about it that much until I got pregnant. And then when I got the pregnancy test, I thought, yay, now I have 9 months to plan. Little did I know that the symptoms started immediately. My first trimester, I was like, wait, what? Like, I thought it was just morning sickness. Like, oh, you feel a little queasy, then you go about your day. No, I was like exhausted. My brain was like scrambled eggs. And I had not morning sickness. I had all day sickness and all night sickness. I was like, I wasn't eating anything. I went to my doctor and I was like, I literally can't eat anything. She's like, well, try some crackers, I guess. That like you just have to ride this wave. And I was like, what? Like, this is how people like go about their lives. I was like totally oblivious to all of it because I never wanted kids. So any information about kids just like went in one ear out the other previously to this. So I had to change my business pretty immediately when I got pregnant. And I told my team well before, you're supposed to wait in 3 months or whatever, but I disappeared. I was like, hey, I can't make this meeting because I'm literally like head over the toilet. So I told my team, I was like, hey, this is what's happening. And they all like rallied together and it was beautiful. Like everyone, we kind of rearranged roles a little bit. And I did lose 2 clients in that process as well. Like they, of course, they didn't say that was why, but like it was pretty coincidental. I was like, oh, okay, I made this pregnancy announcement and I'm not here. And my team took over things. So that was a bit of an adjustment. But it was actually really beautiful to see how much my business could run without me at that moment because we were at our peak. It was a really great time for business. It was working in our favor. A lot of the PPC loans and things like that were actually helping small businesses be able to afford marketing and funding. And so we were able to help a lot of people that way. So with my first kid, it actually worked really well for me. My team took over. I had an emergency C-section too, which nobody ever plans for that, right? So I had even more time away from my desk than I thought I would need, but it all worked out because I felt like I really basically from the moment I got pregnant, rearranged my business to be part-time and work without me and without needing me. And so it forced my hand in a lot of ways to do that, which I'm glad that it did. And with my first kid, it was like smooth sailing. Everything went great. Like from then on, everything went great. It was beautiful.
I'm really curious about your team, about the support structure that you already had in place.
Yeah, so I had an agency. We had about 12 people on staff. Half were employees, half were contractors, half were full-time, half were part-time. And there was one in particular she was an account manager. So with our agency, we had 3 account managers who would kind of handle the day-to-day operations of managing our accounts. And so when a client would say like, hey, we have a sale, can we get this posted on social and send it out through email? They're chatting with the account manager. Well, one of my account managers in particular was really good at doing trainings anyway. And so she became our marketing manager and actually would manage a lot of the day-to-day team stuff for me as well. So not just her accounts, which we shifted around so she had fewer accounts to manage. And then she was also managing the team day-to-day stuff. So she would do her daily like stand-up meetings. She would make sure that everyone who was asking for a day off, there was coverage and like all of the little things that I was doing. So my role was basically reduced down to marketing. So I would do the podcast and I manage all of our socials and stuff. And then I still did all of the sales in our company. And so she did help with some of the outbound stuff. But if someone like booked a call and they wanted to hire us, it was me kind of like walking them through the proposal process. So I was still doing all of that. So she handled a lot of that. And that really, really helped to have like that person already on my team. So it wasn't like I had to hire someone and train them up on everything.
Oh, that is fantastic.
I'm wondering, you mentioned that you had lost 2 clients when you did have to do a little bit of restructuring. How did that land? Were you like, oh shit, this is really taking, it's going sideways a little bit? Or were you sort of like bless and release?
No, I was like, oh no, like this is never going to work because to me, and maybe I am a little dramatic, but at the time too, I was like, I think I'm going to lose my business because I announced it, right? Like I was really excited. And my husband was like, why are you announcing this? But I'm a very like transparent person. And I'm just like, I'm pregnant, everybody. Look at me. And then like the very next day, 2 clients were like, yeah, we decided to go another direction. And so I was like, oh, this is not good. And so I was really nervous about that for a while. But that was actually in 2021 when I announced my pregnancy. And then in 2022, we had our best year in business. We made almost $1 million in revenue. And so I was like, this did not slow us down at all. In fact, me not being involved in everything probably helped us get there,
That's great. So it's sort of like in the moment, it really, made you sort of go, but then
rode that out and it was fine.
Yeah, it ended up really, really great. And it's one of those things too where I feel like I do want to say this, even though my pregnancy was challenging, my first kid was it was an easy baby. Like what to expect when you're expecting book, she followed the book. My second baby was like, what book? Where? And so I had to make a lot of changes then too, but I think that my first kid gave me like the stomach to be able to weather the like, oh, this is like when they say your kids are different, they mean completely different. For like the second kid, I was like, oh, I already changed everything once. Sure, I guess I have to change everything again. And so I feel like going through that twice now, I'm like, okay, I feel like I can handle anything now because I feel like I've done a lot.
So I'm curious, especially with the first, but I like the second I'm sort of treating as part 2 of this novel. Curious what kind of support that you had at home, because my husband and I are talking about childcare right now, and we think we've cobbled together an ideal calendar that balances childcare between both of us. And I think I got it from Mission Impossible that no plan survives first contact with the enemy. So
yes. No, we are in a hostage negotiation situation over here. So my husband works in real estate. And so his schedule's flexible, my schedule's flexible. So we basically divvied up our day to accommodate our schedules. So I would have the baby in the morning. So I would do like her waking up, breakfast, all of that. And then he would have her in the afternoon. So then I could take my meetings and work and stuff. And, you know, being in the job that I have, a lot of what I do can also be done from my phone. So I'll be honest and say in the early days when the baby's sleeping, I was working from my phone. It actually became harder when she dropped down to 1 nap a day. When I was like, wait, I lost my nap work time. But like I said, she followed all the guidebooks. She followed all the nap schedules. And so I was able to work during naps a little bit. And then my husband also was able to take her. So we just kind of divvied our day that way. And then I only would schedule meetings when he had her. And, you know, sometimes we would have to flip flop. Like if he had a big thing to do or I had a big thing to do, we would like rearrange our schedules. But for the most part, we divided and conquered. We don't have family support. So we don't have a close family here. And we do not have any nannies or childcare, anything like that. We do have daycare, but here in Canada, it doesn't start until 18 months. Because if you have a traditional job here, you actually get 18-month mat leave. So like all of my friends are like, yeah, I think I'm going to take the full 18 months. I'm like, oh, great, good for you. But if you have a business, I'm like, yay, I love it here in Canada, but if you have a business, you have to stop your whole business. And I wasn't willing to stop my business and then restart it again. I felt like I would lose a lot of momentum. You basically have to just prove you're not paying yourself so that the government can pay you. Makes a lot of sense. Perfect sense. I wasn't willing to do that. And so I kind of kept working the whole time, but we made it work until 18 months, and then she was off to daycare.
First of all, 18 months is just, it's unimaginable for the U.S.
I know. My brain just broke, actually.
Right? I've cobbled together 2 months of being able to support my business without active client work, and that felt like I was really proud when I made that number. But yeah, oh my goodness. And we're in very similar boats in terms of I don't want to leave my business for that long. I don't trust it not to have a house party without me. It's 18, you know? Yeah. It's a little bit of a wild child. I love how you and your husband actually managed to balance that. That's what we're hoping to do. So then baby number 2. Tell me about that, because that was a very short turnaround time with its own set of challenges.
Yeah, I don't recommend doing it this way. It's funny because after you have a first kid, the OBGYN, she's like, well, do you want to go on birth control? And at the time, you're like, why? Nobody touched me. Like, I literally just had a baby and an emergency C-section. She's like, go on birth control. I was like, no, I'll be fine. And then I forgot about it, like promptly forgot about it and didn't even think about it. And then I got pregnant again. My oldest was 15 months old. And so it was like, she wasn't even in daycare yet. And I was pregnant again, having that first trimester, like sickness again. And it was one of those moments where I felt sick before I took the pregnancy test. I was like, oh no. And my husband's like, stop. Again, I'm dramatic. So of course my immediate thought is like, oh my God, I'm pregnant. I'm like texting him, I'm pregnant. And he's like, no, you're not. Just take a test. It's fine. And I took the test and I took a picture and I sent it to him. He's like, why did you text this to me? This is a phone call kind of situation. I was like, we were already texting. But I was like panicking because it was too soon. And especially when you have a C-section, they don't recommend, like your body's not healed. Your body's not healed yet. And so my second daughter, we got pregnant with her, which, I mean, I know a lot of people have pregnancy challenges. I don't want to diminish that at all, but I hate to say that she was wanted, but she wasn't, like, we didn't plan to have her that soon, let's say. And so same thing with the second one, just all day sickness the entire 9 months, except this time I also had a toddler. That like broke me down. Like it wore me down to the, like I wasn't working at all. Whereas before I would at least like check in with my team. This time I was like, you guys don't even know what I look like anymore because I'm just not here, because I felt like I was constantly recovering. And she was in daycare, bringing home the daycare germs
to the newborn.
Yeah, not even the newborn.
Oh, just you pregnant. Oh gosh.
Just me pregnant. Like me pregnant, 18-month-old baby, and I was 3 months pregnant, and she's bringing home daycare germs, and you can't take anything. Like you can't take NyQuil or whatever, like Dayquil. So I am just sick all day on top of feeling sick. And so it was the literal worst for me. Like I know, again, I always have to give my caveats. People have it way worse than me in pregnancy. I know that. But for me, that was like one of the most challenging like time periods, was from getting pregnant with the second baby up until like 3 months ago. I was
just
like,
came out of it.
Yeah, no, I seriously just came out of the fog of that. And so that's why I say my second baby like totally changed the way that I do business, because with the first baby, I was able to manage. And with the second one, I was like, no, I can't maintain this. I have to make a change. And at the same time, too, there's a lot of funky stuff happening with the economy. It started dipping down, like the post-pandemic fallout.
Yes.
AI came into the picture. So we had the rise of AI. And then I'm not present. And I said, I'm sales and marketing, right? So I'm not doing sales and marketing. And so my team's like, where are the clients? And I'm like, I'm sick. Like, I can't do my job. And I tried hiring a marketing team, outsourcing it with my team. I tried hiring a sales team, outsourcing it. It just wasn't working. And so in July of last year, I sold my agency, and now I just do marketing consulting and education. And I can do that on my own schedule. And it was a lot more manageable for me that way. And I already had been doing that anyways, kind of tangentially to my agency. But I had to sell because I was like, I sat down, I wrote out the plan of everything I had to do to like revitalize my agency. And then I was looking at my 3-month-old baby, who was colicky, by the way.
Oh, God.
And so like totally different baby. My first baby totally chill. This baby was like, I'm just going to scream all day and you have to figure it out. And even the doctors were like, it's colicky, which basically means they don't know. Like, they don't know. They're like, she'll get over it. She'll grow out of it is basically the result of that. And so I was like, not only am I like dealing with all of this and I have a colicky baby and I'm looking at my agency, like we have to do something, wrote out the plan. It's like, I can't do this. So I made the announcement to my team that like, hey, we're going to start the process to sell the agency. And 2 of my team members were like, we actually want to purchase the agency. So it made it a very quick, like, I was like, oh, thank goodness. Like, here you go. I don't have to do a lot of training. You already know, our clients already know you. It made the handoff so easy. But it was a really hard decision because, I mean, I'd been doing it for 10 years and I felt like I was kind of failing at it at that point.
Big moves. Yeah.
So big. Oh my goodness. So what did your business model end up becoming?
Yeah. So now I have the Mindful Marketing membership, which is the lab. I launched that in 2018. So I already had about 100 members in there. And so we already have like, we have a community, we have all the trainings and the programs there. And then I do marketing consulting for small businesses. So one-on-one consulting, or they buy one-off strategy packages, or most recently, I end up doing trainings for local business groups. So there's like an incubator here where I come in, I do trainings, and then I do one-on-one consulting with the members of their program, and they get paid through grant funding. So the small business owners don't have to pay, but they get grant funding through the program, and then I get paid that way. And so that's my business model now is the membership, the training, the consulting. And then I have some smaller things like Riverside sponsors my podcast, things like that, where, it brings in some money.
Oh, that is so interesting, because I'm looking at my business model and figuring out what needs to shift, because I've always been sort of more one-to-one focused. I am a solopreneur to my core, and I do have some fabulous assistants, but it's pretty much me with some help. Yeah, and figuring out what that needs to look like and how I need to diversify my income streams and where the money's going to come from, because there are some things that I don't think I'm going to have the focus and energy to do, like massive one-to-one projects. My brain isn't there anymore. It hasn't been for this whole year, and I've been forcing it. I don't think I'm going to be able to force it.
Yeah. I found that I was holding on to it a little bit longer than I should, because my identity is so tied up into like my business and being an agency owner. And also I find on the other side of this, like looking back, I do find it lonelier to run a business this way. Like I liked having the big business with the big team and the stand-up meetings and all of that. And so I think that's part of why too, like, I didn't want to let it go because I like the people that I was working with. That makes it very hard to make the decision,
It sounds like you had an amazing team. That would be so hard to let go of.
Yeah. And I'm still in contact with a lot of them today. Like we still like comment on each other's social media posts and like, stay in touch.
So I'm really curious. One thing you said, and this has nothing to do with kids, but everything to do with business, because I was seeing the same trajectory in mine. And I think, Kara, you were seeing something similar too. But this strange shift in the economic forces combined with the rise of AI and politics and the sort of global stress, it was this perfect storm. And I saw it in I didn't have clients hardly at all. I had maybe very low ticket ones, but none of the high ticket that kind of form the backbone of my income. They weren't there for the first 5 months of this year. So I'm like, I'm going to write a book. It'll be fine. And it was. But it totally freaked me out. And now it seems to be shifting again, but the AI is creating a really different landscape. I'm really curious what you're seeing.
Yeah, it's different. And I'm an early adapter just by nature. And so I jumped on it pretty quickly in November of 2021.
November 2021, you jumped on AI?
Yeah, ChatGPT launched in November of 2021.
That's really early.
Yeah, and I used it in the early days. It was so bad that a lot of my early day content was basically going, this is terrible. You know what I mean? But I've been studying it for a long time. And so I have been using it for a long time. And so as things were changing, I'm shifting with it. But I wasn't at least moving as fast as my peers. And that did put me behind because I just literally wasn't able to, being pregnant and having a colicky baby and then going through postpartum depression anxiety. Like I didn't even realize I was going through it until my husband was like, so don't take this the wrong way. Bless his heart. Don't take this the wrong way, but you may want to go see the doctor about your emotional state. I was like, what do you mean? Like, I got so upset. And then I went to the doctor and she gave me this questionnaire. And I was like laughing as I was filling it out. And then she put in the results and she's like, so you have a pretty extreme version of postpartum depression and anxiety. I was like, oh, okay, cool. So now what? And she's like, here's medication, go to therapy. And that was in March of this year when I started. And I feel like an entirely different person now. I have no idea how I even got through like the first year of having 2 kids. And one of them being a colicky baby and the other one being, a 2-year-old who just got another baby introduced into her life. And so I sold my business and then it's just like, I don't even know what happened with that time in that year. And so I don't even remember what the question was, but I just wanted to share that like that also really changed how I viewed my time and my business. And like even the things that I'm doing now, I'm trying not to be too optimistic about what time I have because one, my kids come first, which is a different mentality than when I went into this. Before having kids, I always said, I don't want to be one of those moms. I don't want to be one of those moms who like their kids becomes everything. And now I'm like, I will fight anyone who gets between me and my children. And I don't care. Like if a client comes to me today and says, I'll pay you $1 million to fly out here tomorrow, I'd be like, sorry, I have my kids. You know what I mean? So like my kids come first before everything. And so totally changed like my perspective on everything. So now I'm trying to restructure my business to be able to fit in with this whole thing. Everything, like even like kids have summers off. I'm like, well, I now have summers off in my business, you know? So it's like I'm trying to think ahead about things like that.
Okay, that's really interesting. Like restructuring your business around just being there for your kids. I'm very curious because, you know, we live in the zeitgeist of 4-hour work weeks and, you know, trying to hack your calendar. But this is when the rubber meets the road.
So I don't take the summers off, but I do it where it's like I'm going to plan. My workload is definitely much lighter. I tend to not take on, you know, nearly as many client projects. It actually becomes more like whenever my daughter has time off from school, that's more like my limited pockets of time during those days where I actually focus on my own business and not doing client work. So, and then the summer becomes like a rebuilding and restructuring or reimagine what my business will be for like the next academic year. I kind of love it's put me back on like an academic year schedule because I did love school. So I'm like, yay, school's back in season. It is a thing. I think it's a superpower too, where most of us get when you have the kid, where it's like the stuff that like you don't want to deal with, or it's not moving the needle forward. You're just like, this is just falling off my calendar. Like I don't have time for it anymore.
Yeah, exactly that. And I feel like it made me focus on the things that really matter and like really trim the fat basically of everything that I was doing in my business. And also it helped me become a better marketer because now that I'm teaching this in a way that, you know, here's how I managed how to, you know, continue my marketing with having a colicky baby through postpartum depression anxiety like I really had to get really focused on what actually mattered in my business. And so now I can, you know, kind of teach it that way. And so it really helped me be a stronger person in that regard. But I will say this, I still don't know. Like I still have no freaking clue what's going to come next. I'm saying I'm going to take summers off, but I haven't had to do it yet. And these two kids taught me that no matter what I plan, something else is going to happen. So I can plan A through, and my therapist was telling me, like, I'm a planner, right? So I'm always like, okay, here's plan A, here's plan B, here's plan C. And she was like, okay, you have to stop after plan C because you're planning too much. And I was like, but then what happens? She's like, you've done it before, you've pivoted, you've figured it out before, you'll figure it out again. If plans A, B, and C don't work, then you can figure it out. And I'm like, okay, I'll figure it out when I get there, you know?
So in terms of prioritization, and I'm really curious to hear from both of you, because what have you found that actually does move the needle? Where are you focusing?
Relationships, 100%. Most of my business comes from the people I know, and nurturing those relationships is really important to me, especially when I had my agency. It was very referral based. And that's why when I was sick and pregnant and all of that, the leads dried up because I wasn't chatting with the people that I'd usually chat with. I wasn't going to the networking events. I wasn't, you know, speaking. I wasn't being on podcasts. I wasn't, you know, teaching the workshops. And so for me, I'd rather spend time nurturing a relationship than creating content. And I tell people that too. My marketing strategy just supports my business. It's not the other way around. And so I have to have the relationships. Then I can, like, you know, create my fun little Instagram reel or, you know, record my podcast, whatever the case may be. But it's all in the people I know.
Okay, you just blew my mind because as a digital marketing strategist, that is not what I would have expected.
Yeah. Okay. I use the tools. Like I'm such a fan of Instagram. I love Instagram voice notes. So I will like chat with people in the DMs. Like most of my social media marketing strategy is behind, like y'all don't see it. Like I'm in DMs on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on Facebook, I'm just like, I'm nurturing and chatting with people. I comment on their posts. I'll reshare their content. I'll be like, hey, can I, you know, I saw you launch a podcast. Can I add it to my email newsletter? You know, like I want to be reciprocal and I know like, you know, it'll come back to me kind of thing.
Very cool. I'm wondering how it translates, because I can see very directly where that brings in like consulting work. In terms of your membership, is it the same marketing mechanism? Exact same thing?
Yep, I just had a member join yesterday who was like, oh, so-and-so told me I need to be in here. And so I'm here. And so it does help in that way. I will say for memberships, partnerships work better for me. So like going and speaking in other people's memberships, but you have to have a relationship for that, generally speaking, unless you're like a really big name. If I want to speak in your membership and you don't know me, you're going to be like, oh, I don't know you. But if I'm like, hey, I have this new, my new one is AI in marketing. I have a new AI in marketing class. I want to teach it in your membership. It's all about how to use AI ethically. Can I come in and speak in your membership? And then, I have a little offer at the end for people to join my membership. If you know me, you're going to be like, yeah, okay, come on in. And so that's where the relationships come from as well for me, is you never know who knows who. And so when the marketing well dries up for me, or when my leads dry up, I just start sending DMs to these people and I'm asking, yes, but I've given a lot in the relationship. And so it doesn't really feel like I'm asking out of the blue. I'm just like, hey, I have this new thing. Do you know anyone who'd want to be a part of it or help me out? And so I don't know. It makes it a lot easier for me to build my business that way than like posting on Instagram and hoping somebody in the algorithm sees it.
I'm so over the moon about this. And also, I would sign up for that workshop in a hot second.
Yay!
I'm wondering where the leads, in terms of, you had, I'm sure, a number of existing clients, right? They stayed with the agency. Where did you start filling up just the same thing, reaching out to people and being like, hey, I'm starting a new thing, and sort of getting referrals that way? Like, how did you fill the pipeline during that transition?
So when I sold the agency, I had a cushion because of the sale of the agency. So I didn't actually reach out to fill my lead list. And at the time, I was also, unbeknownst to me, going through postpartum depression, anxiety. So I thought I was just grieving the sale of my agency. And so I was just like taking a moment. And as I said, I still had a bunch of people in my membership. I was still very busy with my own marketing. So I just kind of like took a break. I also wrote a book. I started a secret pen name writing spicy romance novels. And so I just
wait, you did that during your postpartum depression?
I love this.
You
so
started
much.
writing spicy romance novels?
Yeah.
Okay.
It came from the place of like, well, you know how it is. Like, okay, so, and I'm still working on this in therapy, so I don't even know why, but like, I love my kids so much. And also they changed my life so much that it was like that duality of like, I love this thing. And also I kind of feel like shit. Can I curse? Sorry.
Oh yeah.
I kind of feel crappy. Like I don't feel good. And so the escape for me has always been reading. I'm a big reader. I love romance novels. I read like 300 books a year. I'm a big, big reader. And so one of my friends released her first romance novel and it kind of inspired me. I was like, well, if she can do it, I can write it too, right? So I started dabbling and I wrote probably like 6 or 7 books. No plan to publish them, just like doing it for fun. And then it was the 7th one where I was like, oh, I could actually publish this. This is not that bad. So I like sent it to a few people. I was like, hey, what do you think of this? They were like, publish it. You should publish it. I wrote it. I didn't even tell my husband either. Like I told him I was writing, but I told it for fun. I got a cover design, everything. And then I held up the book for him and I was like, so I wrote this. Like the physical, I was like, I wrote this. He's like, you what? Like instead of working on my business, I took the time to work on me. And like the writing, I think, actually helped me go through postpartum everything. And then, of course, like medication and therapy really helped me. But I actually didn't like try to aggressively fill up my pipeline. I just worked what I already had. So my business went down. But like if we're looking at my books, like, my business decreased by like 80%, right? Because I don't have the agency anymore. I just have my training and consulting. And I have one part-time assistant that's helping me. So like my pay didn't change that much. It went down a little bit, obviously, but my top line revenue went down quite a bit. Like when you go from paying 12 people to paying, just myself and my assistant. So like my business went down, but like my own pay didn't change that much because I already had the membership. I already had these partnerships that I was creating content for. I already had a few consulting clients. I had my email list too. So I would email them like, hey, I'm accepting consulting clients, and I got some that way. So I didn't really have like a big, like fill up the pipeline push. until right about now, because my youngest, she's 18 months now, she's in daycare. And so now I'm like, okay, I have more time. Like I can like ramp this back up. So that's what I'm doing now.
Amazing. I love I love the romance novel aspect so much. So many people say that as soon as you have kids, you don't have time for hobbies, passion projects, you don't have time for yourself. And I'm like, I don't think that's necessarily true for everybody.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I wasn't sleeping. So that helps.
That helps free up some time.
So I told you my second baby, she was colicky. That went away around 6 months. So first 3 months, terrible. The next 3 months, she was easing out of it. And then by 6 months, she was sleeping through the night. And then she would still cry during the day. But at night, she would sleep for like 12 hours, which I always I whisper it because I feel bad because that's unheard. Like I can't even tell my friends that. They're like, shut up, don't talk to me about sleep right now, right? So I had time to do that. And plus I said I had a little cushion from selling the agency. And so I was writing, but I was writing in a way that worked for me. So I used technology to my advantage. Google Docs came out with voice to text. So a lot of my writing was voice to text, like laying in bed, anxiety and depression, talking into my phone. Like one night I was actually whispering, like my husband's like, what are you doing? He like woke up. He's like, what are you doing? I was like, don't worry about it. Nothing.
I'm writing a book.
Yeah. Nothing, don't
Be a
worry
voice
about
note.
it. And then same thing when I was walking around with the baby. Like babies when they're little, they're just like little potatoes. Like they don't do a lot, right? Like so I'd like carry her around and I'd be like, so chapter 1, Remy went to the whatever. And so I would walk around and like talk to my phone and like share my ideas and share my thoughts. And so I use like technology and then also my lack of sleep. I don't recommend doing this, but that's just what happened.
That is where because Laura and I were having this conversation about how there is a lot of like, oh, like the baby comes and you have no more time. And I was sort of like, yeah, like time does get squeezed in different ways. But if you do, like, I feel like there are pockets you can find. Like I also had the pocket for a while, like sometimes I miss it, like when my daughter used to go to sleep at like 6:30 and then I'm like, whoa, I have like a whole evening. So I think you find the pockets and it's up to you if you're like, I'm so exhausted by my life that maybe, yes, you really do just need to like not do anything with that time. Or if you are like, I find my recharging in these other activities that had previously always given me joy.
Yeah, and I would say with my second kid, I had even less support. So my husband and I had kind of like split our time with the first kid. But the second kid, he also started a second business when she was 6 weeks old.
You're like, thanks.
Yeah. It's a passion project of his. He got the idea, got really excited. He started a local radio station. So in our small town, he started this radio station. And so I took on most of the parenting responsibility. So that actually also fed into this concept of selling the agency and reducing kind of like my work schedule because I have less family support as well. And I mentioned we don't have any family close by really. My mom-in-law is, but she's not able to help as much. And even more so now she's aging, right? So she's just not physically capable of helping. But with the first kid, she could do little stuff. Like she would come over and help clean a little bit or like bring food and stuff. Now she can't even do that. And so I had way less family support with the second kid. And so that also, I think, is part of it too, is my husband is real estate, radio station, very busy. And so I've got the kids. Both of them sleep through the night for 12 hours. And when they're down at 6:30, I'm like, okay, well, I can either work or I can write a romance novel. So I have that balance. And that's also part of why the way that I'm structuring my business now reflects that. I want to be able to, if there's a sick day, the most I have to cancel is like a podcast interview or like if there is a live training, usually I schedule them even now to where a nap would be. So like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, they're usually asleep. So that's when my live trainings are going to be scheduled for the foreseeable future, just in case, like if I have to have the kids here for whatever reason, right? And so I'm trying to be like, this is the overthinking, over planning, like naturally anxious side of me. I'm trying to be as prepared as I can be, knowing that like I don't even know what's going to come next,
It's funny because I also am a planner. I go all the way down the alphabet with my plans, and it's going to be interesting to see how I can handle the unpredictability.
So it feels similar to me as when I first started recording videos on social media, because it feels a little like unnatural and it feels a little silly. It's like you almost have to sit in like the discomfort of like, I don't know what I'm doing. And so like that like uncomfortable feeling, I just had to like get used to it. And now I think I'm a little bit too comfortable. Like I need to get back to like a little bit more planning now on the other side of this. But it's like you just have to get used to the uncomfortable feeling of like, we're going to have to move stuff around. Because I basically spent the last 3 years canceling meetings because I was sick or pregnant and sick. And so I feel like I spent the last 3 years going, hey, sorry, I can't make this meeting today because I'm sick. And so, yeah, I feel a lot better now that I'm on the other side of that. But it's like, you just feel uncomfortable all the time. And like, it's like you feel that guilt on top of like all the other emotional feelings and physical feelings you're feeling.
So this kind of leads me to the second to last question. How has your identity shifted through this motherhood journey, and how has it actually stayed the same?
So I tied my identity a lot into my work before, and I knew that about myself. Both my husband and I were very focused people, and when you're two people who don't have any kids and you're focused, you end up working a lot. And I did. We both worked a lot, and we did like we would take spontaneous vacations and stuff too, and like let's just go work in Mexico this week. Okay, let's go. Like it was so different. Now, I feel like I still value work, sure, but it's not the most important thing. It's not even the second or third most important thing. And that took a long time for me to like accept that feeling and just be okay with it. Because work used to be like number one. Like I would cancel everything before I would cancel a meeting. That would be just like, why would I cancel a meeting? You know, like before I'd be on meetings having the flu and I'd still be on the meeting, right? And now I'm like, if I don't feel well, I'll just cancel the meeting. So I do feel different in that regard. I will say the ways that I feel the same are, or maybe even improved, are like my playfulness and silliness. Like my daughter's 3 now, my oldest, and we just have so much fun. And I feel like I have permission to like just be goofy all the time. Like she just wants to do like the silliest things, like, Mom, let's do a chicken dance. And I'm like, yeah, sure, let's do it, you know? And so I feel like that's something that not necessarily shifted, but maybe became amplified more with having kids. There's like a part of me that, you know, maybe I wouldn't have been as goofy before. I'm still a little goofy, but I wouldn't have been as like, I wouldn't have leaned into it as much. Whereas now I'm like, life is short. Life is short. She's not going to want to do this. I can already tell she's going to be a teenager who's like, I hate you, Mom, get out of my life. Like that's her personality. So I'm just going to like soak up her love now and know that she's going to hate me when she's 15. And so part of me is like, we're just going to be silly. We're just going to be silly and have fun with
it. Okay. Oh my gosh. I love that so much. So the final question, of course, is there anything that you would like to promote or talk about with your business? What should people know where they can learn from you?
Yeah. So I'm all about simpler, smarter marketing for busy people. And I've lived that life. And I do use AI a lot in my work. And so if you're curious about that, I do have a free AI training. You can find it at onlinedrea.com/AI, and it is a private podcast feed. So you can just listen while you're chasing after the kids. And I walk through like how I use ChatGPT specifically every single day and what questions I ask myself and what guardrails I give myself to make sure that I'm not crossing any ethical boundaries, because it's really, it's so new, right? It's a totally previously undiscovered thing. And so I walk through how I do that, so that I can speed along my process, right? Like, you know, before analyzing data and stuff was so manual, and now there's a tool that will help us sort through all this information. And so I talk about that in the private podcast, so check that out.
I have absolutely signed up for that private podcast. I think I've listened to it, the whole thing through, twice. It's so good.
Well, thank you so much for being here and chatting with us about. And just saying, it's not really a balancing act. It's just sort of like the messy act of life and blending it with children.
Yeah. No, I love having these conversations because it just shows that like we're all still figuring it out, right?
Definitely. Thank you so much.